Okay, I'm going to make a start. Obviously we're not going to beat the music, so we're going to have to compete with the music. So, welcome to the 2019 Melbourne Career Expo. This presentation is on online and offline marketing and how networking and referrals can help you get work. So my name's Sue Elson. I've been doing these expos for a number of years, and I also joined LinkedIn on the 21st of December 2003, but my journey in the online world started in 1987 when I started using computers, and then in 2001 when I had my first website was launched. So I'm a member of a lot of associations and I've written 4 books, and another really important component of my experience is the amount of voluntary work I've done, which I found really enjoyable and helpful. So one of the things that you need to understand if you're going to get networking and referrals for a job is you've really got to understand your highest values and your purpose, what you're actually trying to achieve. So a lot of philosophies and faiths have this concept of ask and you will receive. So if you're not really clear on what that purpose is, it can be really challenging to actually attract that type of opportunity to you, whether you're online or offline in person. So if you've got a very clear vision of what that is, you're much more likely to attract it, and also you can create a decision-making framework because there's so many choices available out there. So if you're really clear on the direction you're heading, it's going to be much easier to get that to come through. But it also needs to be realistic. So if you want to be a specialist in macrame knot tying, you've got to work out, do people really do macrame anymore? So that's really important as well, to understand that level of capacity to get that type of work. The second thing that I like to encourage people to think about, aside from their values and what's important to them, is their skills. So your natural and learned skills. So some people are even better at their learned skills than their natural skills, and others obviously have skills that they're really good at but they really dislike as well. So if you are clear and can define these and understand what's actually in demand, you've got a much greater chance of getting it. Or if it's not in demand, you might be able to pick up another skill that is in demand. And you've really got to make sure that those skills are aligned with the opportunities that are out there and be ready to showcase them online. You also need to understand what your current situation is. So assuming you want a job in Melbourne, you've got to understand what sorts of opportunities are available here, and are you just using anecdotal information. So I work with a lot of people who are new to Melbourne, and a lot of them hear from their friends there's no jobs, they don't like migrants, and they believe all these stories, and that really reduces their ability to secure work and opportunities. So please do not rely on that anecdotal information that you hear from friends, family, other employees and so on. There may also be other issues affecting your options. So you might not be able to work in a really loud environment. For me personally, I can't stand air conditioning and fluoro lights. So I'm really fortunate that I can work from a home office and have the sun coming through and a nice little heater and not have air conditioning. And that really makes me perform at a much higher level. So understanding this and your, various other issues you might have can make a big difference to your success in trying to find the right work opportunities. And also you've got to ask yourself, are other people negatively affecting you? I had one client and she had done all these amazing things throughout her career. She'd run a dance school, she was amazing at IT, she had all this different experience, she was an amazing administrative manager, but because she was brought up in a family that said you must be a doctor or a lawyer or you're nothing, she still had this terrible sense that she was not a worthwhile person. And when I said to her, that's absolutely not true, and what do you really want to do? And she's just had this amazing career trajectory from there on, when she stopped believing that idea that unless she was a doctor or a lawyer, she didn't mean anything. So think about, are there other people negatively affecting your approach? Oops, that's backwards. The next thing is to think about online networking. So I obviously attract opportunities to me, and I do lots of different consulting freelance type work. So I need to be found online for all of these things. So if you Google me, Sue Elson, heaps of stuff comes up. If you Google LinkedIn specialist anywhere in Australia, I'm #1, page 1 of Google search results. If you Google the name of my publishing company, 120 Ways Publishing, it comes up. So whatever you want to be found for, you need to make sure that you can be found, and that's going to help. If you are in an enterprise, you need to have reviews available online about you, and you also need, if you're going to be out there in the social media world, you need to respond to comments, and you need to respond to them appropriately so that you have that chance to be who you say you are, and respond in your voice, not on behalf of someone else. And then your level of authenticity. So do you consistently and frequently add new content online? Because if you do, then you'll be known for that area of expertise. But if you put on a whole lot in January and don't do anything till the next January, you won't really be known for that area of expertise. And you can't just be digitally literate, which means fill in boxes online or websites or whatever. You need to show competency. So how are you going to showcase those skills? How are you going to add more information that's really going to make a difference and people really understand your skill set and your value offering? So as I mentioned in my earlier presentation, the number one spot for everybody to start, in my view, and by the way, I'm not paid by LinkedIn to say this because I've got my own LinkedIn profile, is to start there, because it's a way of telling your story about what you've done in the past and showcasing what you'd like to be able to do in the future. You can get recommendations on there, you can get endorsements on there, and you can even come up in Google search results. So 70% of people will Google you before they get you in for an interview, and 90% will look at you online before they offer you the job. So if nothing comes up when people Google you, you need to be worried, because a lot of people won't consider hiring you if they can't find anything online. They will also check Facebook. Believe it or not, McDonald's, the hamburger fast food chain, is now using Snapchat to get applicants, so they're all using different techniques to attract applicants. And so if you wanted to work at McDonald's, you'd probably kind of have to be on Snapchat, so there's really interesting things happening with how to be found. But on LinkedIn, you really need to discuss your achievements, because a lot of people will look at your LinkedIn profile and say, well, if they did that before, they can do that kind of stuff again. So past behaviour is a predictor of future performance. So if you don't talk about your achievements and what you've actually been able to achieve in those previous roles, then obviously it's going to be much harder for you to convey your message and for people to be attracted to your content. So you can get a copy of these slides. I've got a little handout at the front. I'm happy to email these through to you, but there's extra links throughout the slides for more information on all of this. One of the things you absolutely need to do on LinkedIn is follow that link and change your public profile URL. So that's the link where you appear on the internet. If you change that URL to just your name, it optimizes your name and lets you be found in Google search results. You also need to let everyone you know that you're in the market for a job. So that's all your friends and family, all the people you used to work with, and you need to let them know this is the type of work I'm really interested in doing. Because most people get a job through referrals, not through applying for a job online. So most business is also done by referral. And then what happens is you hear about something great, you Google it, you prove that it's all good, and then you go ahead and buy or connect or do whatever it is. So if you've let people know that you're in the market, on LinkedIn, you can turn on in the jobs tab, there's a little jobs icon up the top. There's one called career interests, you can fill that in. And then you can also follow particular companies that you would like to work for on LinkedIn. So if you wanted to work, for example, the National Australia Bank, you follow them on LinkedIn, and then if they're looking for somebody with your skills, you're more likely to appear in their search results. So that's also really important. And then other companies, they don't use LinkedIn at all. They just rely on people who visit their website to look at the website and actually apply for jobs through the website. So I really encourage you, if you want to work for a particular company, check out their website, see if they've got a careers section and fill in the details. If you still haven't got a job in 3 months, go back and fill it in again, because most of those records are only kept for about 3 months before they take it off. And there's another link for other job search strategies that you might like to use. You also need, if you're going to have an online presence, to make sure that everything you have online kind of looks nice. So when was the last time you updated your photo? When was the last time you updated your description? Do you need to remove anything that's not appropriate or drunk at a party photos? And you can also link all of your social media accounts to your own website or to LinkedIn or to a Google account. And there's some instructions on my previous presentation that I'm also happy to send you if you would like to do that. So I'd suggest at least once a month you need to log in to these social media profiles and do something, and that will keep your presence alive online. Now there's a number of other online marketplaces where you can get access to opportunities. One of the ones that I think is really important for each industry is to look at the professional association. So if you go to the myfuture.edu.au website, it lists all the different types of jobs that are around, and then it tells you which professional association is aligned with that particular job. So if you wanted to be in career development, it's going to say that the Career Development Association of Australia is the professional association. You can then become a member and find out opportunities through that professional association. There's also things like industry portals. So if you were interested in an arts career, here in Melbourne there's a website called Arts Hub, and so they actually advertise jobs on there. So it's another place, if you didn't know about it, you could potentially find arts jobs. Then of course there's websites. Now Indeed.com is an aggregator of other websites. So it scours all these other websites and it pulls all the jobs and puts them on Indeed.com. So it's an American company. So that is one place where you can go to see lots of websites all at once. A lot of Australians already know about seek.com.au, which is well known here in Australia. And another one that I've noticed more recently is Jora.com, which is also a semi-aggregator of other jobs from other locations. One of the favourite apps I recommend to people who are new to Melbourne and some of my individual clients is one called WePloy, which is like Uber for jobs. And they, ask you to fill in all these details, do a couple of assessments, do an interview, and then you can be on the app. And then when a job comes through, you can say, yes, you're available, and go out and do that. There's other websites like Sidekicker and Found.careers that offer something similar. So if you want something just to get out of the house and do something in between jobs, these are really great choices. And especially if you're doing a bit of a career re-evaluation or you're new to Melbourne or something like that, they're really great resources. There's also online marketplaces like Airtasker, Freelancer.com, and if you're going to try and get gigs on those, I do not recommend them as your average everyday income. I only recommend them as a way to network. So it's like paid interviews. So you go out and you do a job and you get paid for it, but you also get the opportunity to network and meet other people and tell them your story and see if they can refer you on to somebody else. So don't see it as a way to make loads of money, but see it as a way to get introductions into meeting other people and exploring those opportunities. In my Gigsters book, I give you some ideas on how to evaluate which ones are good and which ones are not, because some of them don't have a lot of jobs on the platform. So what's the point of joining these platforms if there's no jobs or no networks? So, aim for the bigger well-known ones, and they're more likely to lead to opportunities. I also believe that it's really, really important for you to network. So all of you, by being here today, are networking, and I really encourage you to attend live events in person. When somebody meets you face to face, it's a completely different experience to an electronic resume arriving in an inbox. It's very different. So getting out and meeting people, getting information is always a really great thing to do, and then you can get those referrals. You can also try and find decision makers who will actually be able to give you more information. So rather than saying to the head of HR, give me a job, say to the head of HR, look, I'm really interested in working in this career. Can you give me some tips and suggestions on how I can get into this field, anybody I should speak to, so on. And also you can prospect personally. So if you email me, I'll send you a little letter that I sent out. A few years ago, I was working from home and I thought, I've just got to get out of the house. So I produced this one-page letter and I folded it in 3, didn't even put it in an envelope, and I just dropped it in the letterboxes of all these local businesses, and I got a job just by doing that. I also got a job 2 years later because somebody had kept that piece of paper and was still interested in hiring me 2 years later. So don't underestimate the value of just putting something on paper and delivering it. And I didn't feel comfortable going in and saying, you know, here's my resume, please look at it. So I actually did it after hours and just stuck it under the door or put it in the letterbox, and it led to those opportunities for me. And there's other tips on networking there as well. Referrals are also a really great way. So as I've said before, you out at network, you ask who they can refer you to, but when you are referred to that other person, you actually need to go and talk to them and follow up. Because if you get the referral and don't do anything, it's not a referral. And then when you get that referral and you have that meeting, it may not lead to anything, and that's perfectly fine. But you need to go back to the original person who gave you that referral and say, look, I met with them, we didn't really have anything in common, but I really appreciate the referral. Is there anybody else you should suggest I talk to? Or you might say, look, it was amazing, they decided to pass me on to the HR manager, I got an interview, and it could be something even better. So I got a referral this week, so I asked the lady who referred me, could I send a card to her work address? So I prepared a thank you card, I gave her a $20 Woolworths gift voucher, and I sent her a copy of my book as a way of saying thank you for the referral. So really encourage you to always say thank you for any of those sorts of opportunities that you get. And every time you connect with somebody or meet someone, you can connect with them on your LinkedIn profile. So the reason I got that referral this week is 6 years ago, I met that lady at an event and we connected on LinkedIn. And because I keep sharing information about what I do, she referred me 6 years after I first met her. But if I hadn't connected to her when I met her, I might have lost that connection forever. So really encourage you to do that. And there's another article there on how to find a job. The other really great way to get opportunities is to do some voluntary work, and I've done heaps of voluntary work. I love it. Today is obviously voluntary. I'm not paid to present here today or prepare the presentation. So it helps you get out of the house. It gives you something to look forward to. You learn new things, you meet new people, you get more referrals. So again, it's that whole process of getting out and about and making things happen. And then once you've done it, you can add that to your resume or your LinkedIn profile as well, and people can hear more about that story. Now, there's some other very specific networking tips that I like to share when I talk about networking, and one of them is to arrive early and leave last. Now, when you arrive early, there's not too many people, so it's not so threatening. And if you leave last, you'll always be stuck with somebody who wants to talk. And so you learn quite a lot of information from the person who's just blabbing away at the end. So it's a really great networking technique. And when you go to a networking event or any activity, make sure you meet at least 3 people that you can have a longer conversation with. Because if you talk to them for longer than a few minutes, you've got a much greater chance of them referring you on to somebody else. So a typical person knows at least 250 other people. So if you meet 3 people, that means you get direct access to 750. But if you were at that networking event saying, hi, my name's Sue, give me a job? No. Hi, my name's Sue, give me a job? No. You're not going to get through more than 20 people, even if you did that. But if you connect really, really well with 3 people, you can have access to those 750, which is likely to be far more valuable to you. Also, when I go to a networking event, believe it or not, I'm actually an introvert. I'm not the life of the party. So I will always look for the person who's standing on their own, because they're like me and not knowing who to talk to. So when I go and say, oh, hi, my name's Sue. How did you find out about this event? Oh, well, I saw it on here, blah, blah, blah. And then we've got something to talk about. And the very next question I ask them after we've got through all of that is I say, what keeps you busy during the day? Now, that's not, what do you do? Which I hate that question, because if somebody's unemployed and you say, what do you do? It's a very embarrassing question to try and answer. But if I say, what keeps you busy during the day? They say to me, well, at the moment, I'm actually looking for a job in such, and they feel comfortable saying that. So it's a much nicer question to ask. And I also, if I'm with someone, I think about how I can add value and give them some ideas or tips or suggestions. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit too helpful sometimes, and people say, enough already. I actually got called an over-friend this week. I was too over-friendly. So yeah, sometimes you can do too much, but definitely you're much better off trying to help someone and giving them some information rather than just, hi, bye. And the other thing I really hate is when they look at your name tag, and if you're not the CEO, they move on to somebody else. I think that's terribly rude, because you never know, I might actually know the CEO and could refer you. So, always talk to everybody equally nicely. Again, as I said before, say thank you. A card or something on paper is much more likely to be kept than an email or an SMS. And just saying thanks, that was really great, is not helpful, but saying thanks, I really appreciated that networking event. Last night I managed to meet 15 people, and 3 of them are able to do this and blah, blah, blah. And that's really useful feedback for the person. Or thank you for that job interview. It was really interesting to learn more about your company. I now feel more confident of working in this industry. If there's another job available, even though I've missed out this time, please keep me in mind. And I actually did that when I first moved from Adelaide to Melbourne, and no sooner did I miss out on one job than that same company put me forward for another job. So don't just assume you've missed out on a job, it's all gone. Say thank you and let them know that you'd actually be open to another opportunity in the future through them or through someone they know. It's also really nice, rather than just every time you get bad service, writing a bad review, but if you get good service, write a good review. People really appreciate it when you write a review that's informative. You can also give a letter of thanks to the person who refers you. And also, don't forget those wonderful friends and family who keep encouraging you even when you've had some disappointments, and thank them for their support and encouragement of you. You also need to prepare yourself for the future of work and any issues that you're currently dealing with. So I've had various clients who've had issues, and one of them was not such a significant issue, but she had worked in high-flying New York and had worked in a really fantastic job, and now she was here in Melbourne just with her 2 kids and was finding life all a bit kind of